In March 2025, a shocking case emerged from Columbus, Ohio, when a 44-year-old high school staff member named Stephanie Demetrius was accused of trying to hire one of her own students to murder her estranged husband. Demetrius worked at the Academy for Urban Scholars High School, where she allegedly approached a juvenile student and offered him $2,000 to carry out the killing. According to police and court documents, she even gave the student a $250 down payment and provided detailed information about when her husband would be alone at home and when their children wouldn't be in the house. Investigators say they obtained a recording of a phone call between Demetrius and the student in which she allegedly reassured him that the rest of the money was not a worry and dismissed concerns about neighbors hearing gunshots. The entire plot unraveled when the student's mother discovered disturbing messages on her child's phone and immediately contacted law enforcement. Police intervened before any harm could occur, leading to Demetrius's arrest in early April. She was charged with felony conspiracy to commit murder, issued a $150,000 bond, and ordered to stay away from both the student and her husband. The school terminated her employment the moment the allegations came to light and cooperated fully with the investigation. Her public defender has denied all accusations, calling them fabricated, and Demetrius had not yet entered a plea at the time of initial reporting. The case stunned the community because it involved an adult in a position of trust, allegedly trying to manipulate a minor into committing a violent crime, raising serious questions about safety, influence, and the vulnerability of students in educational environments. After her arrest, investigators began digging deeper into the life of Stephanie Demetrius, and what they uncovered raised even more questions about what pushed a school staffer to allegedly recruit a teenager for murder. Detectives reviewed months of text messages, financial records, and phone logs, trying to piece together the true motive behind the plot. Court filings revealed that Stephanie and her estranged husband were locked in a tense custody dispute, and sources close to the family claimed arguments had escalated in the weeks leading up to her arrest. Detectives also learned that Stephanie had taken out a small personal loan just days before she allegedly paid the student the $250 down payment, a detail investigators believed might indicate premeditation. Meanwhile, the student involved began giving additional statements to detectives, describing earlier conversations that suggested Stephanie may have been planning the idea for longer than originally thought. The prosecution started preparing to present new evidence, including digital recordings and location data, while Stephanie's defense team insisted the entire situation was a misunderstanding fueled by exaggerated claims from a frightened teenager. As the investigation widened, police questioned multiple people who had interacted with Stephanie in the days leading up to her arrest, including colleagues who described her as stressed, distracted, and acting off in the weeks before the alleged plot. Yet none of them had any idea she might have been planning something so extreme. Behind the scenes, investigators quietly began focusing on one specific piece of evidence they believed could change the entire direction of the case, something they had not yet released to the public, something they weren't even certain how to interpret. And just as prosecutors prepared to bring this mysterious evidence forward, a sudden development occurred that no one expected, and it threatened to turn the entire case upside down. As the investigation intensified, law enforcement finally revealed the piece of evidence that had been kept secret: a series of deleted text messages recovered from Stephanie Demetrius's phone that suggested she might not have acted alone in planning the alleged murder plot. Forensic analysts worked tirelessly to reconstruct the deleted communications, uncovering conversations with unknown contacts that hinted at a network of people aware of, or even involved in, the scheme. Meanwhile, prosecutors began preparing to introduce these findings in court, arguing that Stephanie's actions were part of a calculated, premeditated plan, rather than a spontaneous act of desperation. Her defense team, however, fought back vigorously, claiming the messages were taken out of context and could have been misinterpreted, emphasizing that Stephanie had no prior criminal history. Amid all the courtroom maneuvers, investigators noticed suspicious activity on social media accounts linked to Stephanie, including messages that appeared to be coded references to the plot, further complicating the case. Public interest surged as news outlets covered every new twist, and community members expressed shock and disbelief that someone in a position of trust could allegedly orchestrate such a plan. But just when it seemed the investigation had reached a critical point, detectives uncovered a startling new lead. A person connected to the case who might have been present during crucial conversations, someone whose testimony could completely shift the narrative. This revelation sent shockwaves through the investigation, leaving everyone wondering if the truth about what really happened was far more complicated than anyone had imagined. And the new lead immediately became the focus of detectives who traced the mysterious individual's movements and uncovered connections that no one had anticipated. Court documents revealed that this person had communicated with both Stephanie and the student in the days leading up to the alleged plot, sending cryptic messages and possibly influencing key decisions. Investigators began to suspect that the scheme was far more organized than initially believed, and the possibility of additional accomplices opened an entirely new line of inquiry. 4. As prosecutors prepared to amend their case, surveillance footage emerged showing someone near Stephanie's home at unusual hours, fueling speculation that meetings or exchanges may have taken place in secret. Meanwhile, Stephanie continued to deny any wrongdoing, claiming she had been framed and that the evidence was being misinterpreted. Tensions rose as the student, now fully cooperating with authorities, disclosed information that seemed to contradict earlier statements, leaving investigators scrambling to reconcile conflicting testimonies. The media picked up every twist, reporting on social media leaks and court rumors, which only heightened public curiosity and scrutiny. Just when it appeared that the case might finally move toward resolution, detectives stumbled upon a hidden digital trail, encrypted messages and files that had been carefully concealed and could contain explosive evidence about the true extent of the conspiracy. The discovery raised a chilling question. What if the full story was far darker and more complex than anyone could have imagined? As investigators worked to decrypt the hidden digital files, they uncovered messages that suggested Stephanie Demetrius had been in contact with someone entirely unexpected, a person outside her immediate circle, who may have had knowledge of the plot long before authorities were alerted. The content of the files included detailed instructions, schedules, and even coded references that implied a level of planning far beyond what had been previously reported. Prosecutors grew increasingly concerned that the case might involve multiple participants and that what had seemed like an isolated incident could actually be part of a larger, more sinister scheme. Meanwhile, Stephanie's defense team argued that the evidence was circumstantial and that the messages could be easily misinterpreted, insisting that their client had no intention of committing any crime. The student's testimony became even more critical, revealing discrepancies in the timeline that raised more questions than answers, and forensic analysts confirmed that certain digital files had been deliberately deleted, indicating an attempt to cover tracks. Public attention intensified, with media outlets speculating about the possibility of unknown accomplices and the motives behind the alleged conspiracy. Just as authorities were preparing to present the new evidence in court, a startling lead emerged from an unexpected source. A witness who had been silent until now and who claimed to know critical details that could completely rewrite the narrative. This revelation sent shockwaves through the investigation, leaving both law enforcement and the public on edge. The witness who had remained silent finally came forward, claiming to have been present during conversations that implicated not only Stephanie Demetrius, but also another unknown individual who may have played a pivotal role in the alleged plot. Investigators raced to verify the credibility of this witness, cross-referencing statements with digital evidence, phone records, and surveillance footage. Preliminary analysis suggested that some of the deleted files recovered from Stephanie's devices contained references to meetings and exchanges with this mysterious person, hinting that the conspiracy could extend beyond what anyone had imagined. As authorities prepared to move forward with arrests and additional charges, Stephanie's defense team warned that the witness could be unreliable and accused law enforcement of misinterpreting the evidence. Tensions in the courtroom mounted as prosecutors presented timelines and reconstructed conversations, showing how the alleged plan had been discussed and partially orchestrated. The student's account continued to evolve, revealing more details about instructions he had received and the pressure he allegedly felt. Just when it seemed the investigation was reaching its climax, detectives discovered one final, encrypted folder that had yet to be unlocked, a folder that could contain the ultimate piece of the puzzle, evidence that might confirm whether Stephanie acted alone or if a hidden network had been quietly manipulating events all along. The contents of that folder remained a mystery, and authorities prepared for a revelation that could change everything, leaving the entire case hanging on the edge of a shocking discovery. The final encrypted folder was finally unlocked, revealing a trove of messages, images, and location data that painted a far more complex picture of the alleged plot than anyone had imagined. Investigators discovered evidence suggesting that Stephanie Demetrius may have been influenced by external pressures and manipulations, pointing to communications with multiple unidentified individuals who had advised her on timing, payments, and methods. Some files even included messages from parties outside the immediate community, raising questions about whether the conspiracy extended beyond her personal circle. Prosecutors presented this evidence in court, showing a pattern of planning, coordination, and concealment, while the defense continued to argue that the communications had been misinterpreted and that Stephanie had never intended for harm to come to anyone. The student's testimony confirmed some details, but also revealed inconsistencies, leaving the jury and public grappling with what was real and what may have been imagined or exaggerated. While the court case moved toward resolution, authorities warned that investigations were not entirely complete, as digital traces hinted at unknown participants whose identities remained hidden. The story concluded publicly, with Stephanie facing serious charges, the student spared from prosecution due to cooperation, and the community shaken by how close the plot came to tragedy. But the lingering question remained: who else, if anyone, was really involved behind the scenes, and had justice truly revealed the full truth?